give an acknowledgement of country. So on behalf of those present, I acknowledge the traditional owners of the land in which you all come from. I pay my respects to their elders, past, present and emerging. I also pay my respects to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people of Australia and hope the path towards reconciliation continues to be shared and embraced. Well, thank you for joining myself and the team today. Basically, this session is really to introduce the Neville Bonner Award. I'm sure most of you are familiar with Neville Bonner and are familiar with the award, but for those of you that are new, I'll give you a little bit of insight, to give you some updates on some of the key changes we've made to the assessment criteria and the nomination process. We're a small team running the national award. So there's myself, who's the director of the awards programs, Angeline, who does all the management, sets the time frames, and Jin doing a lot of the coordination and behind the scenes work. So we're a small team of 3, but it's great to see the impact that we've had and the opportunity to recognise some of our brilliant teachers. So for those of you that aren't familiar with the Neville Bonner Award, it was actually introduced in 2002 when the awards were run by the Department of Education, Training and Youth Affairs. The award started a little bit before that in 1997. So Neville Bonner Award was introduced a couple of years later, and it was introduced as part of the Teaching Excellence Award. Neville Bonner was the first Indigenous Australia to sit on Parliament and an elder of Jagera people. You can see a photo of Neville there in the slides. He was an Indigenous activist and very politically savvy. His contribution to Australia has been recognised through the naming of one of the suburbs in Canberra. And this award is part of the Citations Award, but also the Teaching Excellence Award. And individuals nominated for this award have to demonstrate their contribution to Indigenous education, and it's only open to Indigenous teaching staff. What you can see here is the number of nominations and awards granted over the past 4 years. In 2018 and 2019, we had no nomination for the Neville Bonner Award. In 2019 and 18. In 2020, there were 3. Very few awards were granted, and we pretty much left it to the universities to advertise these awards. Because of the consistently low numbers, last year my team decided to intervene and come up with a new process whereby we could encourage and tap on our PVCs Indigenous and Associate Deans Indigenous. Now that there's a lot more of these roles in the university, we thought we've got a community that supports Indigenous education, supports the Indigenous students. Why don't we tap on them and try to increase the number of nominations? And I was really pleased to see that we managed to bring that up to 10 nominations for citations, 2 for teaching excellence. We don't get a huge number, but it's better than having none at all. And I'm hoping this year we can double that number as well. We're still going to try and push the Neville Bonner Awards and really want to start to recognise our leading educators, Indigenous educators, and start to build a community of practice. So my team, and this is the first briefing for this year, is to tap into some of the influences in the Indigenous education space. We've also developed some resources to try and elevate the Neville Bonner Award, and we've got videos from past recipients which can be shared. We also promote our support services, so we have a mentoring scheme, and we're this year developing some professional development sessions as well. We've also been working with Susan Page, who I just saw a moment ago. She had her camera on. That's been working with us to revise the assessment matrix. So thank you, Susan. I had a look at some of those changes. I think they're really, really good. And we've got a separate panel to assess the nominations in the Neville Bonner Award. Some of the key changes this year. Each year, the University Award, the funding towards the awards gets reduced. And this year we've seen the amount of money we had to run the awards has been cut by half. The only reason I can keep Jin and Angeline on is because some of the savings I had from previous years, which I've been able to carry forward. But realistically, you know, where we are really running the awards on a shoestring, and we rely on the contributions academic staff make to help these awards run. So in your time as well for being part of this briefing session to become familiar with the Neville Bonner Award and to start to think of educators you could possibly nominate. Because of the cuts, there's no prize money for teaching awards this year, which is a real shame. We standardising the assessment criteria across all of the award type, and particularly we're looking at the assessment matrix for the Neville Bonner Award, and I've already mentioned Susan Page providing some valuable insights. We have got a number of teaching categories, but the two that I want to mention to this group is the citations for outstanding contributions to student learning, and the awards for teaching excellence. So in the citations, there's a number of discipline categories. So you can apply for award in health, say if you're teaching in nursing, or you could apply for award in engineering, IT, agriculture and building if you're teaching a computing course. So you choose which discipline, and then you choose one of the nomination categories. So you decide which discipline are you from, and sometimes we've got some courses that might be multidisciplinary. So a number of universities have got common first year core courses, and those courses might be multidisciplinary, or they might want to put it in a particular discipline. So we've got a number of discipline categories that the applicant would select, and then they select one of the nomination categories. So are they early career, or are they going for a Neville Bonner Award, or are they a sessional staff? Similar process for the Teaching Excellence Awards. The Teaching Excellence Awards, Indigenous educator will choose the discipline category and then choose whether they are an early career academic or whether they're going for a Neville Bonner Award. Now, with our awards, with the Teaching Awards, the nominee has to address the 4 subcategories, all 4 of them. So they have to talk about the approaches to teaching and how they support student learning. They have to talk about how they've developed curricula or resources and that they've got a command in the field. They have to talk about their assessment practices, also have to show how they've innovated or demonstrated leadership and how that's enhanced the student experience. They have to talk present their story against all of those 4 subcategories. If they're applying for a citation, they choose one, the one where they have the strongest story to tell about the things that they've been doing. Then we have a set of assessment criteria. And so now we're assessing the awards against these 4 criteria. The first one is around, was there a positive impact on student learning or student engagement? We want to see that this impact on student learning has been sustained. So for a period of no less than 3 years. Has the work that they've gained recognition from their colleagues, their institution, or even the broader community? So have they been able to influence others? Has their work been adopted by others? Criteria C is around the creativity, imagination or innovation that they've showed in their nomination. And then the last part is drawing on the scholarly literature. So they might embed their work based on some learning theory or maybe publishing some of the received feedback, critical feedback, and made improvement on their work or on their initiative. So that's the assessment criteria for our award. And Angelina's been absolutely instrumental in developing this nomination process. So Angelina, I'll get you to talk through this slide if that's okay.
Sure, and since last year, we have introduced additional steps leading up to the regular submissions of the applications, and it works really well. So we are reintroducing this process this year. So what's going to happen after today's session is that we will send out the online registration link to all the DVCs and PVC Indigenous to register up to 3 teaching staff who could work towards the Neville Bonner Awards. And the registrations close on Friday, 20th of May. Upon receiving the list of potential nominees, we would actually invite these nominees to attend the professional development sessions in June and July. And besides inviting them to attend the professional development, by the beginning of June, we actually aim to connect the nominees with the AAUT and mentors. So at the moment, we have 26 mentors who can take up to 36 Neville Bonner nominees. And it is really good to see from last year, some of the nominees have actually benefited by using the mentors and tap on their expertise. And for the mentors, we actually did ask them about their experience in working with nominees with Indigenous background. So we did some kind of checking from our end to ensure that they have the experience and are comfortable to do so. If the nominees have decided to proceed with their applications, this can be done via their ICOs. So as you can see that if going through the mentorships and the nominees decided to go ahead, they will have to go through the institution ICOs. By Friday 26th, the ICOs will register the nominees and they don't have to submit the applications until Friday 16th of September. So from now to September, there's a fair bit of time that the nominees can put into the applications. We encourage all the nominees from last year to resubmit the application this year because along the line we have received emails saying that some of them are not able to submit because of other commitments, and obviously they have already started the process. So it might be a good idea to actually revisit who have started the submission last year and encourage them to do so. For the 8 citations recipients, we really want to strongly encourage them to apply for the teaching awards this year while it's still fresh in their mind.
Great.
So the nomination form, I've just had a look at that. That looks pretty simple. But the actual submission documents, can you talk a bit about them, how, I guess, expansive or time consuming they might be, what they might look like?
Depends on applicants if they're applying for citations or the teaching awards. So citations is more straightforward, where they just have to fill up the nomination form, claims of submissions, 2 letters of reference. And then for the teaching awards, they will have to provide more supporting materials like videos link, 10 pages supporting materials. We have all this information on the AAUT webpage. And if you have any further questions after that, feel free to just email us or give me a call and I can just walk you through.
Thank you.
Just to recap on what Angeline said, on the Universities Australia website, there's a page for the AAUT awards. There's a link there that you can follow that talks about how to nominate, and it gives you all the information around, and all the instructions are in there. If you feel like, after you've read through the pack, you would like further help or assistance, please reach out to the awards team. All right, so we've got a registration process, which will happen up until the 20th of May. That gives us an early indicator the number of Indigenous educators that might be nominated for this award. We will invite some of the developmental sessions to share their award. We can arrange for them to be connected with a mentor, and then around August, that's when we start to put the details into the portal, the actual people that will be nominated. We get the nominees to register and then they upload their submission. So we'll August to September. So we've still got a fair bit of time, but we want to start early because we wanted time to start thinking about these awards. So the next slide really just talks through the assessment process. I know it's a bit early to talk about it, but we have actually got a layered assessment process. So once all the nominations go in, for the Neville Bonner Award, we've got an Indigenous assessment panel. They will assess the nominations individually. When they come together as a group, they get to moderate their assessment, they get to change their assessments, and they argue why they've nominated a particular applicant in a certain way. So there's opportunity there to negotiate, discussion, test your assessment as well. The assessors then recommend who they want to put forward to the awards committee. There are a number of awards committee, and they're chaired by usually Deputy Vice Chancellors academic. They then endorse, or they may change, they endorse or not endorse, they may change the recommendations by the assessors. Once they've endorsed who they would like to see forward, they then pass that on to Universities Australia Board, and then the board approves, and that happens in February 2023. So there's a pretty complex assessment process and there's a number of layers to it. We need to have that level of rigour if we're going to award someone with a National Teaching Award. What we do this year, which we haven't done in a formal way, last year we did run some professional development, sort of being a bit more targeted. So we'd like to run some professional development sessions. You can see there the first one is the introduction to the Neville Bonner Award. We'll be running a session with our institutional officers, so a briefing session covering similar sorts of things that we're covering today. Applicants, people that might be interested in applying, will get to meet the 2018 to 2021 Teacher of the Year recipients. There'll be some sessions around writing successful citation and a successful application. So we'll bring in past recipients and they'll be providing some tips. We had one today in our own institution just for our college awards, but we want to raise that to a national level. So we'll have some sessions around writing successful citation, program award and teaching award, and of course applying for a Neville Bonner Award, and then applying for an early career application. So they're the sorts of development sessions that we're planning. If you think you need other ones, and there's probably more to be added to the list, we're more than happy to add any further to the list. You can check out the mentoring scheme at the Australian Awards for University Teaching Network, and we've got our ICOs. And I wanted to mention that Susan has been graciously and selflessly giving her time to help us improve the assessment criteria. And she's made a couple of changes to the assessment matrix. But I wanted to take this opportunity to really thank Susan for the work that she's done, because we really want to try and improve this process.
I noticed that you're meeting with the institutional contact people. It seems to me that sometimes it's some of our problems, let's try not to use negative language, but some of the trouble has been that the institutional people don't know where the Indigenous great teachers are. And so I wondered if that might be something that you put on your agenda, just pop on that agenda for that meeting. Just draw attention to the fact that, we are trying to increase the participants in the Neville Bonner, recognising good Indigenous teaching wherever it's happening. And and again, I'm happy to, help with that if you need.
Thank you for raising it, Susan. Maybe going forward when we session, maybe we could with the Neville Bonner, and I will tell the ICOs that we've had this session.
Hello to I know a number of people that are in the group. Hello to each and every one of you. OUA, Open Learning Teaching, is that something that you could nominate for? And 2, do you have to be teaching currently, or can you cite a period within the last 3 years where you achieved certain outcomes of, acknowledgement and success, but not in that position currently, but in the last 3 years, having received a number of national commendations?
Okay.
And
you've asked 2 questions. So the first one with the OUA, usually OUA courses are designed within an institution and delivered through OUA. So that should be academics or part of university. So that should be fine, Mark. And then the other one, whether you have taught for the past more recent and you're not teaching anymore, can you still apply? Yes, you absolutely.
Thank you very much for the informative session. It's been a pleasure. Wish each and everybody the very best. Gabi and
All right. So thank you, but I really appreciate your time and effort, everybody. So thank you so much.